Today, we are going to be discussing a topic which is on everyone's mind at the moment. Is there a pension crisis in the UK? I'm actually going to be breaking this video down into what I believe are 4 very important parts to this. So first of all, what is happening in 2022? Secondly, talking about state pension. Thirdly, talking about defined contribution pensions. And fourthly, talking about defined benefit pensions. So, to start off with, in 2022, people are saying, is there a pension crisis happening right now? As we can see in the media, which is why I've got my laptop today, looking at The Guardian obviously reporting that a number of people in the 50s, late 50s and early 60s are looking to defer their retirement, as obviously things are biting at the moment, cost of living, inflation, etc. And people are starting to think, okay, should I actually continue saving for a little bit or continue working for a little bit before retiring? The other problem that we have, as mentioned in the Financial Times as well, is that workers are looking to start cutting their contributions to their pension schemes. Because they're saying, well, hang on a minute, if the cost of living is going up, but my salary is remaining the same, where am I going to get the difference from to pay for my family or whatever it might be? So rather than contributing, say, 3, 4, 5% or 10%, I'm going to cut that down to 2 or 3%, whatever it might be. So this is certainly happening in the UK for some people in work at the moment who are thinking it's better for them to not make such large contributions, to have a larger take home of pay. This does create potential issues though, because obviously they are meant to be saving for their retirement and they're potentially not going to be doing that. As a financial advisor, I can't tell people whether they should or shouldn't be doing that. It really does come down to someone's independent situation. The second point that I'm going to be moving on to is regarding the state pension. So obviously, when we talk about is there a pension crisis, the state pension, obviously, fortunately, it's backed by the government. And obviously, I think the government will continue to obviously ensure that people receive their state pension. But as all of you will have seen over the past decades, the state pension age has continued to rise and rise and rise. Obviously, one of the reasons for this is a lack of funding in the state pension scheme. In fairness to the UK government, they never really expected people to be living the age that they are now. And obviously, they're having to fund people's retirement for a much longer period of time than they had expected. If you have any concerns about your current situation, how this impacts your DC, your DB, your transfer, get in touch below in the description section to book an appointment with myself or one of our senior financial advisors. And as always, guys, please like and subscribe to the channel to let us know that we're producing good content. So the third and fourth part I'm going to talk about here is defined contribution schemes and defined benefit schemes. Now, in defined contribution schemes, I would say that there can't really be a crisis because defined contribution schemes are what they are. You gave the money to your defined contribution provider, normally through your employer, or if you've done one yourself through a SIP, that money is sitting inside your pension pot. Did it grow? Yes or no? What are your charges? That's the net result. That's what the money is. It's plain and simple. That is why on defined contribution pension transfers, you don't actually legally require a financial advisor if there's no defined benefits or safeguarded assets inside that DC scheme. That is why you can transfer yourselves independently. As I've done a couple of videos on before, doing pension transfers is an absolute nightmare. And if you want to go and try and do it yourself, you'll probably end up realizing why people like us charge the money for it that we do. The final point I'm going to talk about is defined benefit pension transfers or defined benefit pension schemes. Is there a pension crisis regarding defined benefit schemes? My personal and professional opinion from having worked in the industry for 10 years is I just don't see how it's all going to pan out all nice and smoothly for retail clients. I cannot see how with aging populations, better technology, healthcare, longer life expectancy, I just do not see how the camel's back is not going to break with defined benefit pension schemes. So obviously, when you started your defined benefit pension scheme, it would have been many years ago. Well, there's a few defined benefit pension schemes left, but these are really left for sort of senior executives in high-powered jobs, typically speaking. When they set up the defined benefit scheme, they did not expect life expectancy to be going into the 80s or people to be living in their 90s or reaching 100 years old possibly. So the stress that is being placed on those schemes for the long-term assets that they're going to have to pay out is very difficult for them. Now, if we look at the past track record of the United Kingdom, the government, retail investors and big business, invariably the government typically does side with the institutions and possibly the revolving door of politics that we see. So who funds the politicians, who funds the campaign trails, who goes for dinner with the CEOs and the managing directors of all the FTSE 100 companies. Typically it's more politicians than retail clients who perhaps are still owed a pension from that defined benefit scheme. So I have a feeling, I can't say this, I can't predict the future, but I just have a feeling that over the course of the years, when these deficits inside defined benefit schemes are starting to come home to roost, who is the government going to side with? Are they going to say XYZ limited company who makes hundreds of millions in profits a year, you need to take the money from your shareholders, it's going to upset your shareholders, but you've got to do it, you need to repay all these deficits, you have no option to do it, we're going to make some legal law which says that you have to do that? Imagine the private companies, they will hire their lawyers, 30, 40 lawyers, and they would just tear down the legislation from the government. The government probably wouldn't even try to do that. And I have to be careful what I say here, because obviously I don't work in politics, I don't work in the British government, but I've just seen from the track record of what happens in terms of these situations. Typically, unfortunately, in the world that we live in, money talks and business talks. Business are the people who employ people. Once they're employed, they pay taxes, they pay revenue. That's where the government gets their income from. Corporation tax, income tax, etc., etc. So I just personally feel that if you have a defined benefit scheme, I see it as an extremely valuable asset, but it is almost something of an IOU. And we are starting to see this. There's something called a Schedule 1A. This is effectively pension legislation which has been put in place by the government, which allows defined benefit schemes to sometimes offer reduced CETVs rather than a full CETV. This is effectively them saying, you know what, we don't think we've got enough money to pay out for everyone, so rather than you say having a £500,000 CETV, we're going to reduce it to 400k, and we're legally allowed to do that within the framework from the UK government, which has been put in, I think it's pension legislation 1996. So guys, I've covered off the 4 areas there. As a summary, if you're reading this or watching this and thinking, well, God, what does this mean? What should I be doing? Should I be transferring my pensions? Financial planning always comes down to long term and what is correct for you. Irrespective of what's going on in the economy, are we in recession, are we not in recession, what's going to happen? You transferring out a defined benefit pension scheme actually has nothing to do with that. It's to do with your suitability. For many people, even if the economy is flying, you still shouldn't transfer out a defined benefit pension scheme. If we're in the middle of a recession, there's certain people that still should transfer out of the defined benefit pension scheme. It really comes down to your own individual situation. And as I say to all of my clients, don't get caught up in the noise. Short-term market movements, volatility, recession is not what's going to impact the next 20, 25 or 30 years of portfolio growth inside your defined contribution scheme or inside a SIP, etc. Guys, I hope this has been a useful video today. Let me know in the comment section below any questions you have, any fears you have, anything you want me to pick up on, any specific videos, very happy to do it for you. And as always, take care with your UK pension assets. Thank you.